Hi, welcome to my channel Ruby Net Crochet Tejido. In this video I'm going to teach you how to knit this beautiful blouse. It's very easy to do. I hope you guys like it and give it a try, and here is the list of material you're going to need to make it. If you are not already a subscriber, please subscribe and click on the little bell, that way you get notification each time I upload a video. Remember, I make my videos in Spanish and English. If you receive a Spanish video and you wanted to see in English, go to the main page of my YouTube channel, then you will find the English version in there. To knit this blouse, these are the material I'm going to use. The yarn is Isaac Mizrahi Craft Premier, 90% acrylic, 5% polyamide, 5% metallic, 100 grams, 300 meters. And I'm going to need more than one, probably 1.5, so with 2. It's a beautiful chocolate color with those sparkle like that. The color is Palace. It's a medium 4, but it's a thin medium 4. I find that it's not as thick as the regular medium 4. A row counter, because we're going to do the front and the back separate. So you need to know the amount of row that you don't want to do in the next one. Tapestry needle and scissor, and I'm going to use 2 size netting needle, a 5mm and a 6.5. This is like a medium size, small to a medium size. If you want a small, and then you can use a 4.5mm and a 6mm. And if you want a large, you'll need a set of 5.5mm and a 7mm. So I'm going to start with the 6.5. I'm going to do 2 rows. And then I will change to the 5mm to do some 1x1 ribs. And then I will change back to the 6.5mm to do the stitch. And I will explain as I work, because maybe you want yours different than mine. I will change on mine to the 5mm again to finish it off, but you can continue with this. That depends on the style that you want your blouse. We're gonna make 2 pieces like this. This is the top, 1x1 rib. First I did 2 rows with the bigger size needles. I did the 1x1 rib with a 5mm, and then I changed to the 5.5 and I did this lace stitch, nice and open, and then at the end I changed to the 5mm and I did this 1x1 rib because I don't want it a long blouse. I want it a little semi-short, just to the top of my skirts or pants, and I did the rib. If you don't want a rib, you know, that gather around, you want it straight, you don't change to the 6.5mm. You'll continue working the stitch until you have the desired length, and I will explain that as I go. So like I mentioned, if you want this smaller, you can use a 4.5 for this part and a 6mm for this one, and the blouse will be much smaller. See, this, if you do it with the 7mm, it will be really wide and big, especially if you don't do this part and the lower part, you do it straight, it'll be really nice. So we're gonna make 2 of these pieces for our blouse. This is the leftover of my first ball of yarn, but it's not enough to do the entire piece. So what I'm gonna do, put this on the side there for another project, and I'm gonna grab the new one. I don't want to have a knot in my work, so that I will have to use anyway the second one. So why I want to just start with this and then finish with this, so I better start with this one. So I'm gonna start with the new ball of yarn, and in my bigger size netting needle I'm gonna start casting on my stitches. The stitch that I'm gonna do is multiple of 2. So for mine I'm gonna cast on 70 stitches. If you want to make this bigger, not just by changing the size of your needles, you want to increase the number of stitches, you increase by 2. So I'm doing 70, you can do 72, 74, 76, 78, 80, and so on. Remember, if you're using the 7mm, you're already making this bigger. and around 10 stitches is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Around that much. It's almost like 2 inches. But remember, this is a very open work in here. And 2 inches here will be like 4 in this part. And remember as well, if you don't want to do this in the bottom part, it will be a much wider piece because this gather. Look at the width in here. So I'm gonna measure the length of the yarn. I'm just gonna do a slip knot. This is the working yarn. This is the tail on this side. And I pass the working yarn on top. Pass the needle through the loop. Pull the yarn. And then you cast on your first stitch. And then you casting on all your stitches. I'll measure here when I have my 70 stitches. I finished casting on my 70 stitches. Now I'm gonna do 2 rows of purl. So you're gonna purl this row and the next one with the 6.5 or 7mm, whichever you're using. So I will measure here at the end of those 2 purl rows. So I'm working in the second row of purl. So these are the only 2 completely row of purl that you're gonna do, because the next ones will be the 1x1 rib, 1 net 1 purl, and then the rest of the open work, the lace work, it will be done with net stitch. Net on the right side, net on the wrong side, so it's very easy. So finish this purl row. I finished those 2 rows. Then I'm going to change to the smaller size needle. So as this shagu, the cable, the base of the cable are a different size, the large and the small. This one is a small, this one is a large, so I'll have to change everything, the needle and the cable. So this is the right side where the tail is in the front of the work. So I'm going to start with 1 net 1 purl, 1 net 1 purl for 7 centimeters. For mine I did, for the other one, 14 rows. So I'm going to keep track of the rows, that way they're exactly the same. I net the first one, I place the row counter, and then I do a purl. And if you're changing, if you're working with a straight needle, you'll change as well exactly the same. So you want to do 1 net 1 purl all the way until the end. I finished that first row. Now with the same size needle, the 5mm, I'm going to continue working. And I'm going to start exactly the same, 1 net 1 purl, 1 net 1 purl. And I have 13 more rows to do. So this will be number 13. And that will be around 7 centimeters that you're going to do of the 1x1 rib. Remember to keep track of the first piece where you're doing the first one, because you have to do exactly the same in the second one. So I'll measure here when I have my 14 rows. I finished those 14 rows. Now I'm going to change to the bigger size needle, and I'm going to start with the motif. And it's a very easy motif. What you're going to do in this first round, you're going to repeat over and over and over until you have the length. If you're making yours like mine with the 1x1 rib at the end, you'll work for 55 rows, and then you will work 20 rows at the 1x1 rib with a smaller size needle, and in 21 you'll cast off or bind off. If you're working straight, you will work for 47 centimeters of the motif, and you're going to dream with the repetition that you have to do because it's the same over and over and over. So you're going to start with a bigger size needle, and I'm going to put the round counter to 0, because you have to keep track of each row that you do in the first one. That way you do exactly the same in the second one. That way they're both the same size. You're going to start with 1 net, yarn over, net 2 together, yarn to the front for the yarn over, and net 2 together. And that's the repetition. Don't get easier than that. So net 1, yarn over, net 2 together. And since we are doing net for the yarn over, you just have to bring the yarn to the front and work the next 2 stitches together with the yarn from the front. So net 1, yarn over, net 2 together. And you have to make sure that you don't skip a yarn over, because you are decreasing when you do 2 together, and that yarn over increase back that stitch. So net 1, yarn to the front for a yarn over, net 2 together. Net 1, yarn to the front, net 2 together. You can do this with pearls as well, and instead of net, I keep grabbing a strand of the yarn. You can do purl 1, yarn over, purl 2 together. Purl 1, yarn over, purl 2 together. I find that with net it's easier and faster. So like that, you're going to continue all the way until the end. Net 1, yarn over, net 2 together. And when you do the yarn over, that you work from the front, when you go to the back and wrap on your needle, you create yarn over on top of your needle. Net 1, yarn over, net 2 together. So if you have to leave your work, you can leave your work at the end of each row. Or if you have to leave it in the middle of work like that, it's very easy to know what stitch you have to do, because you'll open your stitches and you'll see a yarn over. You got yourself by the yarn overs. So I have the yarn over, and then you know the next 2 are 2 together, and the next one is a net 1, and then a yarn over and a net 2 together. So if I have left my work in here, I know when I come back I have to, just by looking at that, net 1, yarn over, and net 2 together. But it is very important that you don't skip the yarn over. And you're going to continue doing this until the end, and you're going to finish with a net stitch. I finished that first row and already marked that I did that first row. So remember, you always have to keep track. Except if you don't want to keep track, you can measure really well the first piece and do exactly the same the second one. But it's easier to keep track, that way you have exactly the same amount of rows. So for number 2, you're going to do exactly the same repetition. You're going to knit the first stitch. You're going to do a yarn over, so you're going to bring the yarn to the front for the yarn over, and you're going to knit 2 together. This time the 2 together will be the yarn over and the net stitch. The yarn over is the second one in here, so you're going to pass through that strand of the yarn over and through the net stitch, and you're going to knit those 2 together. Again, you're going to knit 1 yarn over, so yarn to the front for the yarn over and knit 2 together. So that's the stitch, the net stitch plus the yarn over is the next one. And you have to make sure that you have the yarn over from the row before. So knit 1 yarn over, knit 2 together. Knit 1 yarn over, knit 2 together. Now if you made a mistake, you miss a yarn over, you open your stitch and you see that you miss a yarn over and you want to come back, it's very easy to remove the stitches. So what you're going to do, you see this was the yarn over because that strand, you're going to wrap in the needle from the front to the back, you wrap the yarn over back, and then you remove that stitch and you pull, and you'll have your net stitch left in here, and you just grab it. You move your yarn over to the back to remove the yarn over, go underneath that stitch at the one that is in the needle under, you grab the one from the row before and you remove it. Now is the net 2 together here, the yarn over and the net. You can do as well, you can bring the stitch to the front, you hold that stitch underneath, that way that net don't go, and you pull that stitch out, remove the yarn over, and you see you have the strand for the yarn over and the net stitch. You wrap the yarn over from the front, always from the front because that's the position of the yarn over, and then you grab your net, and like that is how you undo your work when you have yarn overs. So you will continue again your work until the end once you fix your problem. So I zoom in a little bit, that way you can see a little bit better because the color of the yarn is a chocolate color. So you're going to knit 1 yarn to the front for the yarn over and knit 2 together. You see this is net stitch and this is the yarn over. You're going to pass under that yarn over, pass it through the net stitch and knit those 2 together. Knit 1 yarn to the front and knit those 2 together, and like that you're going to continue all the way until the end around. I finished row 2 and on purpose I missed a yarn over, and this is a quick fix that you can do if you mix one yarn over, but make sure that you don't miss any, because when you miss one and you do this quick fix, you will type the stitches that yarn over don't gonna be as big as the rest. But this is just in case you are halfway and you don't want to, you know, almost at the end of this row and you realize you missed a yarn over, you don't want to come back all the way and do those stitches and undo back again to fix that. Okay, this is just a quick fix. So I'm gonna start exactly the same. Knit 1, pass the marker, yarn over, knit 2 together, and that's the knit 1 and the yarn over on this side. Knit 1, yarn over, and knit 2 together. You see I miss a yarn over in between these 2 stitches. It's missing, so it's a net and another net. So what you're gonna do here to create a yarn over, you're gonna slip the stitch to the right hand needle and that strand in between the stitches, you'll put your finger underneath and you'll see that strand. So you're gonna grab this needle and you're gonna wrap and create the yarn over. So, and here you see that strand, you will wrap from the front to the back and you will have the yarn over, but that will tie the rest of the stitches. Okay, so you'll pass the stitch back and you created your yarn over in that place, and you're gonna knit those two together. And that's a quick fix because you don't want to work, you know, frog. Imagine that you at the beginning left a yarn over and you are all the way here and all the way back, and then you have to frog all the stitches. This will be a quick fix. So you're gonna knit one, yarn to the front for the yarn over, and knit two together, the knit and the yarn over in the back. And like that, you're gonna continue all the way until the end. And for row 3, you come back exactly the same. Remember, you're gonna finish with the knit, and you start with the knit. And you're gonna work until you have the desired length. That depends on what you're gonna do with your blouse. If you're gonna do the blouse like mine, with the 1x1 rib, you'll work your 55 rows. And if you want to work straight without this, you will work 47 centimeters. And the stitch will be like this. It's a really beautiful stitch, very open, very nice, very easy to do. So I will meet you here when I have some work done. That way you can see the stitch without any 1x1 rib. Here is the progress of the stitch. This is what I've done so far. I've done 30 rows. I have 25 more to go, but I wanted just to show you how I look so far with no stitch at the end gathering the piece. It looks gorgeous. I absolutely love this stitch. It's a very easy lace stitch to do. And I don't bring this all the way to the tip, otherwise my stitch will fall off. And I measure from here to here to see the width, and it's 49 centimeters, 19.5 inches, almost 50. I think if I open a little bit more, it will be like 50.5. So it's very wide piece. So I will continue until I have my 55. I finish the stitch 55 rows, and it measure 38 centimeters until here, 38. And now I'm gonna start the 1x1 rib with the smaller size needles. Making the 1x1 rib in the lower part, like I mentioned before, you continue working till you have 47 centimeters, 50 centimeters, depend of your height and the length that you want to give to your blouse. Something else that I wanted to mention, you can do the back piece longer and the front piece a little bit shorter, and then when you sew the side together, you'll leave a little open space in between of them, and it will look really nice as well. Now I'm going to change to the smaller size needle, and exactly the same as I did at the beginning. I'm going to do one net, one purl, and this is the yarn over here, and net. Now from that front strand, I'm going to do a net, and then the next one a purl, and a net. So once you finish this row, you'll start exactly the same as you did this part at the beginning, with one net, one purl, one net, one purl for 20 rows or more or less, if depend on the width that you want yours. Mine is 20 rows, and 21 I cast off or bind off, and the same time that you do in the front, you're gonna do in the second piece. That will be I finished the 20 row of the 1x1 rib. Now in 21 I'm gonna cast off or bind off. And look how gorgeous this look with those sparkles in the yarn. Look amazing. So now we're gonna work as you're supposed to work the 1x1 rib. So you're gonna knit one, purl one, and then a stitch. You're gonna pass over. Knit one, purl one, and pass that one over and cast it off. Net one and cast that one off. Purl one and pass it over and cast it off. And like that you're going to continue working all the way until the end, nice and loose. Don't pull the stitches as you make them, you know, don't yank it like that. Make it tight, leave it nice and loose. That way your work will stretch once you finish. I will show you now and the other one, that way you see how nice and stretchy is the cast off in this one. You see, a stretch the same as the 1x1 rib. It's not pulling tight or anything. So cast off all your stitches and I will meet you here. I left a tail long enough to sew the side. So in one piece you will leave the tail for this side. And exactly the same you will do the other piece. You want to do the same. And once you put front side with wrong side, you'll have the tail one on one side and the other one, you see, this one from this one and that one. And it'll be easy to know which one is the right side or wrong side, because here in the top in the border, you'll have like that on the wrong side and like this in the right side. After you finish the two pieces, you're gonna do an I-cord. You can do it with net or with crochet. Now you're gonna do a cord for the tie and the top of the blouse, and you can do this crochet or net. Mine, I'm gonna do crochet because I've been netting, and it'll be nice to have a break and crochet a little bit. But I'm gonna show you the two options. First, crochet. You're gonna do a slip knot, and this is a 4mm hook. And you're gonna do a chain of 1.5 meters. We're gonna do just one long cord or I-cord or strap. So once you have the length, you're gonna go to the second chain from the hook and you're gonna do a slip stitch. And you're gonna do a slip stitch on each chain space, and that will create a nice little cord or strap for your blouse. It will be faster and easier to do it this way, and it look really nice. It's better to do just a chain, don't look as nice as to do with a slip stitch in the way back. You see, it's nice and round. I'm gonna show you how to do it with the netting needles, and I'm gonna use the 5mm that I use for the blouse. I recommend to use double pointed needle because it'll be easier to pass from one end to the other one, because the I-cord you just net, you don't purl for the I-cord. So what you're gonna cast on 3 to 4 stitches. I'm gonna do 3. I'm gonna do a knot to secure the last one, and you're gonna net the 3 stitches. Now you're gonna slip your work all the way to the other end at the other needle. You see the tail always will be in the front of your work. And that's why I say a shorter needle is easier. Double pointed needle. That way you don't have to pass from one end to the other one. It'll be easier. And the working yarn always will be in the back. The tail always in the front. And you're going to knit those 3 stitches. You see, you bring the yarn to the front to knit. Those 3 stitches. Again, you slip all the way to the other end of the needle, and you see the tail is in the front, the working yarn is in the back. You see, from the back you come here and you knit, and that will create an I-cord, a knitted I-cord. And again, you see, instead to pass all the way to the other end with shorter needles, it's easier, but it had to be double pointed or circular needle for this. And the tail again is in the front, and the working yarn is in the back. And like this, you're going to continue until you have 1.5 meters. But since mine going to be done with a crochet hook, easier, faster. So I'm going to show you how you're going to cast off your I-cord once you finish. You're going to bring again to the end. I don't going to do more because it's just to show you how you can do that. But you always have to move. You see the tail is always in the front. And you're netting, no purling for the I-cord. You're going to do those 3 together. You're going to knit those 3 together. This is a little bit more, you see? But you just have to have the tip of your needle there. And last step. That's because you're pulling. Once you pull this one, it tied the first stitch. That's why. That's because we're working in the round with the there. Once you pass it through, you'll have only one loop. You'll cut the yarn, lose that loop bigger, pass the tail through that loop, and you'll tie that up, and you'll lose your tail, and you'll have a nice round knitted. Now with the tapestry needle, you're gonna sew the side, leaving a gap for the arm, the same on the other side, and then after that, we're gonna pass the I-cord in the border of the top to create the straps. And you have to have this piece right side out. And how you know the right side? And the border here, the right side you will have pearls, and in the wrong side you will have like this, like nets. Once you finish sewing these two together, look how even that look in here. You're gonna sew on the side. Remember, this is a lace work, so you have to do the sewing very loose. And in here, if you look at your piece, you will have like almost like pearl stitches, and in this side the same. So you're gonna match each one of them and try to do the sewing nice and loose. As you look, you see like here, and then the same in the other side. So you're gonna continue sewing, leaving the open space for the arm, and don't secure your yarn. Just take your tapestry needle, do the same on the other side. We will pass the cord in here, and then you will try around to see if the open space that you left for the arm is big enough or is too small. So if you have your yarn loose in here, it's easy for you to sew some more or to remove some of the stitch that you already done. I always like to leave it open without securing the yarn until I know if that's the desired size for the arm. So for now I left open here 18 centimeters, 7 inches. I don't know if that's the open space that I need, but I just left it with the tails in each side until I put the strap. I got a safety pin, and then here you're gonna decide where you want the tie. You can have it here, you can have it in the center, in the shoulder. It's up to you. Mine will be a little bit more here, but no inside out or in the shoulder. Depends. So with the safety pin, I'm gonna pass just under those pearl, and you're gonna choose the space that you want to. And so this is a very loose, you see, in between the pearl and the next stitch, you can pass your cord, no problem. Leaving the tail in here, don't pass it through, otherwise it'll come to the other side. And then you'll decide where you want to pass it through, the amount of space that you want to leave in between, up and down. You're going to pass it through all the way here until the end. Go to the next one, do the same thing, bring it to the other end, and you can tie in the top. I will do that, I will try it on, and I will let you know if I do some more sewing under the arm. I close a little bit more, and here I had 18 centimeters, now I have 15, I close 3. So 15 plus the length of the strap, that will be the opening for the arm. You can even more or less, depend how tight you want the shoulder straps. And like I mentioned, my little bow is more close to the front piece, That way you know which one is the front and the back. Look like this. I try it on and it look really nice. It's perfect for my size. And you can gather this more in the front or in the back, giving more length to the strap. It's up to you, but it's really nice. This is what I have left, and this one I have a little less because I did a strap, and this one, but I'm gonna wind this up in a ball in my yarn winder, and I'll have enough for a project. Now I'm gonna put it on my mannequin and I will show you the end result. Well, this is the end result, and I absolutely love this blouse. It looks really nice with that detail of the 1x1 rib. I love it, and it's very easy to do. I hope you guys like it and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. And if you make this beautiful blouse and you want to send me some picture, you can do it through the Facebook page Ruby Nail Crochet Tejido or my Instagram Ruby Nail Crochet Tejido. Please share my video with friends and family, that way you help me grow here on YouTube. I wish you have a beautiful day. Bye.